Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take those concepts you think you understand, maybe pull them apart a bit, and really look at the surprising details hidden in the source material. Today we're doing something pretty radical. We are taking memory and moving it completely out of the brain. We're diving deep into matter itself, specifically into water, the most fundamental substance, really, on the planet. Our sources are suggesting something really provocative here. The idea isn't just that water flows, freezes, evaporates, the usual stuff. No, they claim it carries structure, information, and potentially deep ancient memory, which, if true, demands we look at physics, chemistry, consciousness, everything, really, in a completely new light.
Absolutely. So our mission today for you listening is to explore this claim, this idea that every single drop of water could hold information. We need to unpack how these sources frame this, let's say, non-traditional concept. What mechanisms are they even proposing for storage? And maybe most importantly, why should this idea potentially change how you view yourself, your body, your whole environment? Let's zero in on that.
Okay, let's start at the foundation then. The core premise. Water carries structure. Retains structure. Now, traditionally, we think of water molecules, H2O, tumbling around randomly, right? In liquid form, bonds breaking, reforming, constantly. Chaos, basically.
Yeah.
But the sources we looked at, they suggest something far more ordered is going on.
Right. And what's crucial here, I think, is that the sources are focusing on this really speculative area, often called structured water.
Right.
The idea suggests that water can form these quasi-crystalline lattices, or ordered domains. Sometimes you hear the term exclusion zone water or EZ water. And the thinking is these are more stable than we previously thought. So if these ordered structures exist, the sources propose they can be, well, imprinted by external inputs and crucially retain that imprint, like a memory, almost like magnetic tape.
Okay, imprinted by external inputs. What kind of inputs are we talking about? Because this is where it gets, well, legendary almost. It's the idea that water responds to intention. This source is pointing directly to the let's call it controversial work of researchers like Masaru Emoto. He suggested water literally reacts to spoken words, to music, maybe even to focused prayer.
Yeah, and we really need to frame this neutrally for you listening. These are highly, highly disputed claims within mainstream science, particularly regarding the ice crystal formation. But they are absolutely central to the worldview presented in these sources. Right. The really memorable finding they always highlight is that ice crystals allegedly formed differently. They appeared, more symmetrical, more beautiful, when the water was exposed to words like love or gratitude, compared to when it was exposed to concepts like hate or you fool. You've probably seen the pictures.
I have seen those pictures, yeah. So if we follow this logic, if the water retains a structural impression, then the information storage isn't chemical, it's vibrational, energetic. Is that the idea?
That seems to be the core of it.
But I have to ask, how do the sources deal with the physics here? I mean, water is constantly moving, interacting. Wouldn't just simple thermal energy, entropy, wouldn't that just destroy any fragile molecular structure almost instantly? How does a memory persist?
That's a really critical question. How long does this memory last? The sources suggest that certain conditions might stabilize these structures. Things like purity of the water, stillness, or maybe the sustained application of a coherent vibrational field. Like focused intention or prayer, as you mentioned. They seem to suggest this can stabilize the structures, allowing the memory to persist longer. It's almost like they're implying the water is actively stabilizing the information through resonance, not just passively storing it like a rock carving.
Resonance, okay.
This is really where the concept seems to move beyond pure chemistry and into the realm of, well, energy fields. It gets quite esoteric.
Right. Okay, so let's run with this for a moment. If we accept, for the sake of argument, that a single glass of water could hold the impression of a kind word, then the sources invite us to scale that concept up dramatically. We have to imagine the entire planetary archive, the ocean.
Exact.
A macro memory. They call the ocean the ultimate archive. And detailing what the sources suggest this colossal body of water remembers. It's actually quite humbling when you think about it. The claim is that every single drop cycling through millennia has been touched by well, potentially every human who ever lived.
Yeah, and what really stands out is the type of archival content they list. It's not just, geological history, sediment layers. It's the profound, emotional, even chemical record of humanity. They talk about every tear ever shed, every trace of blood spilled in conflict or childbirth,
Hmm.
the chemical signatures of pollution, yes, but also ritual offerings poured into the sea, every song sung by sailors or coastal communities,
Mm.
all of it supposedly imprinted in the water.
Wow.
It becomes this vast, liquid record keeper of our entire existence, our joy, our sorrow, our impact.
Hmm.
And this completely flips our usual paradigm, doesn't it? We're taught memory is individual.
Yeah.
It's neurobiological. It happens inside your skull. But this introduces what you might call a glitch in that thinking, the idea that memory might be fundamentally inherent in matter itself. It suggests memory isn't confined to us, but is maybe a global planetary phenomenon, constantly being written, revised, and somehow retained in the sheer volume of the sea.
Which leads back to that very profound connective thought I found mentioned in the material, that feeling you get sometimes when you stand by the ocean, that sense of awe, maybe connection, maybe even unease. Maybe, the sources suggest, you're not just reacting to the vastness, the power, the chaos of the waves. Maybe you're actually meeting memory itself, the collective record of history condensed into liquid form, somehow resonating back at you.
A pretty staggering thought.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, so if the ocean is the macro archive, let's bring this huge idea down to the micro, to the most intimate archive we know, which is the, 70% water inside you, the listener. If memory is in water, what does this mean for our personal lived experience?
Well, this offers a potential, though highly speculative, analysis for a lot of deeply felt phenomena, doesn't it?
Mm.
If the water structure within us retains information, maybe memory isn't just localized in the brain's neurons. Maybe it's diffused throughout the very cells, the intercellular fluids of our bodies.
Like cellular memory?
Something like that, yeah. This is the potential explanation the sources seem to offer for those really deep emotional experiences we have, the ones that feel almost primal. Or maybe even for those inexplicable feelings that seem inherited somehow, passed down. If the water within our lineage, within our very cells, retains some kind of residual structural memory,
Inherited memory through water structure, that's a leap.
it's a significant leap, yes, definitely outside conventional biology.
And the sources get even more specific, offering this really compelling thought about non-human communication, how other beings might interact with this planetary memory field. They focus on whales.
Ah, yes, the whales.
We know they sing, their songs travel across vast physical distances in the ocean, but the sources pose this question: what if they're actually singing across memory?
Now that is a remarkable jump. It moves memory from just passive storage, like files in a cabinet, to something actively retrieved, accessed.
How so?
The sources seem to suggest that whale song isn't just communication between individual whales. They propose that these specific, incredibly complex frequencies might be unlocking something, or maybe resonating with memory structures the ocean has held safe perhaps for millennia. Information kept safe for us even.
So the whale songs are like sonic keys, accessing the oceanic database? Is that what they're implying?
That seems to be the analogy, yes. They're portrayed almost as biological access points. Think about it. Whales operate deep in the ocean, often in environments that are relatively quieter, more stable perhaps. Conditions where, according to the theory, memory retention might be strongest.
Okay.
And their songs, low frequency, incredibly complex, spanning huge ranges, are proposed to potentially stabilize the surrounding water structure even further, making the stored information, the memory, more accessible. The song, in this view, essentially translates or vibrates the planetary memory, making it available as a frequency that maybe other creatures, or perhaps even sensitive humans nearby, could sense.
So they're not just talking to each other, they might be talking with the archive itself.
That's the implication. Communicating with the archive, reading it, maybe even writing to it.
That dramatically shifts our view of non-human intelligence, doesn't it? Suggesting they might be custodians or librarians, maybe, of planetary history.
That certainly does.
It raises a huge question. If whales can potentially access this memory, could humanity learn to tune in as well, or have we forgotten how?
Well, if the memory resides in the structural integrity of the water, as the theory goes, then conscious intention, going back to the Emoto claims, however controversial, is presented as the first step toward tuning in. The sources really emphasize that we aren't separate from this field. Our own 70% water body is constantly, inevitably interfacing with this larger oceanic memory field. We are part of it.
Okay, so we have this absolutely gigantic paradigm-feeding concept, water is living memory. But the sources don't just leave us floating in that abstraction, do they? They actually offer some immediate, actionable wisdom, things you, the listener, can supposedly do to integrate this idea starting right now.
Yes, they bring it down to very practical personal actions.
The first key action they suggest is incredibly simple, something you can easily weave into your daily life. When you drink water, a glass of water, water from a bottle, just pause for a second and whisper one kind word to it.
Or even just think it.
Right. A quiet acknowledgement of its role, its life-giving properties, and according to these sources, its potential structure and memory.
And the thinking behind this practice, following the logic, is that your positive intention helps to stabilize or enhance the structure of the water you're about to ingest. It shifts the act from just passive consumption to a kind of communion and interaction.
Okay, that's one. Second, they advise that when you're near the sea, or any large body of water really, instead of just admiring the view or thinking about swimming, consciously send gratitude towards it, like a focused, conscious act of reverence, not just for the water itself, but for the vast planetary archive it supposedly represents.
Exactly, sending that focused intention out. And the overarching principle that connects these actions is treating water as sacred. Not just because it carries life, which we know it does, but because these sources claim it also carries memory itself. Collective memory, personal memory. This whole perspective, whether you accept the scientific claims or not, encourages a more critical, maybe more mindful way of thinking about how we interact with the most essential element for life on Earth. It's really about shifting our focus towards intention, towards reverence in our relationship with water. Recognizing every interaction isn't just a chemical process, but potentially an exchange of information, of energy.
This has been, well, a really compelling deep dive, I have to say. We explored this pretty radical idea of water carrying an energetic structure, a memory. We connected that idea to the potentially colossal oceanic memory archive holding the record of human history, the tears, the blood, songs. And then we brought it right back home to the personal archive contained within our own 70% water bodies and what that might imply.
And the central, really powerful idea that the sources seem to want us to leave with is distilled into that one striking statement. The ocean does not forget, and neither do you. So we encourage you to carry that specific thought forward. Mull it over. The sources suggest that simply treating water with conscious intention, with kindness, with gratitude, is the first step in recognizing, maybe even strengthening our connection to this proposed planetary memory. Every drop is memory. What impact does that specific thought have on the way you approach the very next glass of water you pour for yourself? Something to think about.